Welcome to the Lighthouse Podcast, a resource created by Lighthouse Family Retreat to strengthen families that are living through childhood cancer. You will hear stories from families, educational information on childhood cancer, and most importantly, we will encourage your family during this journey. Hey everyone, I'm Chris Woodruff. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined here by Christy Richards, my co-host. Christy, I'm super excited for this.
I've been waiting a long time for this.
We've been talking about this for several years, launching this podcast, and we've been working on it for,
months and months. Yes.
Yeah, and so it is officially September. If you're listening to this on the launch day, it's the first Tuesday of September, and it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. We are launching very intentionally in this month. Tell us, for you, what does Childhood Cancer Awareness Month mean for you, especially since you are a family? You guys will learn that as we learn a little more about Christy, but what does this month mean for you as a family going through childhood cancer?
It's huge for all the families. It's about awareness and honestly raising money. So it's awareness because people don't really realize how many kids there are out there that have cancer and what it does to a family. So you'll hear a lot this month from everywhere about personal stories, like trying to make it personal to people, because there's such a need for resources for these families. And this is the 1 month we have to really shine the light on that.
Yeah, research and support. That's why we want to raise awareness, because there are so many families that are going through this. And that's what the podcast episodes following this one are really going to talk about throughout September. But let's give everybody a little bit of info, because they're like, who is this Chris and Christy people? Like, what are they doing and why are they even talking to us?
Exactly.
Let's tell them a little bit about who the heck we are. And then we also want to tell you about Lighthouse and what Lighthouse Family Retreat is. But first, Christy, tell them a little about you and your family.
So I am married to Eric and have 3 boys who are, they're really, really tall right now. 2 are in college, 1 in high school. I've been on staff with Lighthouse for about 3.5 years, but our family's been involved for, I think, 11 or 12. We were a family that was served on a retreat when my middle son was going through treatment. And then my kids really fueled the passion of, we want to go back there and serve. And so ever since we've been off treatment, our family has served as a family. And it's just kind of the mission of Lighthouse has just been in our hearts ever since. So I've been on staff now, and apparently now I'm a podcaster. So that happened really quickly. That was not the intentional.
That's right. Add that.
Yeah.
Add that to the list. Well, I've been on staff for a little over 8 years. My first retreat on staff was your first retreat, you and your family's first retreat, serving.
Yep, being on the other side.
Yeah, being on the other side. That was a spring break retreat. My family and I, we had been serving for a few years before that. So we had been serving together, learned about the opportunity with Lighthouse. I was in the corporate world before, and God just led me to Lighthouse. And so I've now been on staff as the executive director for a little over 8 years. I'm married to my wonderful wife, Jan. This is 20 years. We're in 2020. For those of you listening in 2020.
Very nice. Did you plan that on purpose?
Yeah, it makes it easy to count.
It does. Yeah,
it makes it easy to count. And so we're celebrating 20 years this year. We have 3 kids, 2 boys that are in high school, and then our daughter is in middle school. And so that's just a little bit about us, very high level. You'll learn more about us as you keep listening. Hopefully you keep listening to these episodes, because there'll be a little bit more you learn about us throughout. So let's talk a little bit about Lighthouse now, because I'm sure there's some folks listening going, what is Lighthouse Family Retreat? Never heard of it. And so we're going to give you a little bit of info about that. So Lighthouse Family Retreat is an organization, one, that's been around for over 20 years. And we are a faith-based nonprofit, and we exist to strengthen families that are living through childhood cancer. And we do that in 2 ways, through restorative retreats and then through helpful resources. Christy, you live on the retreat team in the retreat world. Talk about, what do we do from a retreat perspective? What does that look like? If there's a family out there that's going, what are these retreats you're speaking of?
Right. So we do 2 different kinds, but the main kind of retreat is a week-long retreat where we bring families, and they come from all over the country, and we are international. And they come and they get to spend a week kind of removed from their everyday life and from treatment, and they get to be served for a week. And the really cool thing is we also bring volunteers from all over, and they come specifically to serve these families for a whole week. It's the most fun you can have on a week ever. And it's a place where we've intentionally created these places for families to go to kind of reconnect as a family. Right. So there's stuff for the kids, there's stuff for the siblings, and there's a lot of stuff for the parents, which is super important. So we try to address everybody's needs on the week, and it
Right.
really creates community for them. So when they go back to wherever they came to us from, and they're going to go back to treatment
Right.
and all the things that are hard, they go back with a community that surrounds them and loves them, and it's
Yeah, that's there's some great organizations out there that really focus on the child that's on treatment, and we love those organizations. We're a little bit more unique, and we really try to focus on the entire family because we realize that everybody's involved.
Right. And as someone that has 3 children, and I always say one was on treatment, but all 3 were really on treatment. Just one took chemo. I think that's what attracted my kids so much, is they came, and the oldest and the youngest, who had kind of been pushed aside, they really connected and really felt special for the first time in a long time.
Right.
And they're the ones that dragged, that were like, we're going back there.
Yeah.
Because it's about our whole family.
Yeah. So we do these week-long beach retreats, and then we also do some one-day regional retreats. And then on the resource side, this is the year, 2020 is the year we've launched our resources. And so obviously the podcast, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. But we've also launched a Monday Motivation, which is just meant to be a kickoff of encouragement each week. You get it in your inbox. You can sign up, subscribe for it, and you'll see it every Monday morning. And it's just a little something to give you some encouragement to help you start your week. And then we just launched a few weeks back the blog.
Perspectives, that is our blog. It's a weekly blog. It's for, families going through this season. It's just to offer a perspective and kind of encouragement. It's written by a lot of different
Right.
A lot of different people.
Yeah.
So that's why we named it Perspectives. It just gives you different things to think about, and just a different way to look at things in a really tough season.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it because of that very reason, of
Yeah.
multiple people. So it's not just 1 or 2 folks on our staff. We've got folks on our staff. We've got a lot of folks that are connected to Lighthouse writing with different views on different things and different topics. So really excited for you guys to be checking that out. You can subscribe to that as well, so
Yep.
it'll end up in your inbox. You can also find it on the website, and then we've got this podcast, and so
Yes.
we're super excited to really be talking about the podcast. So let's talk about, so everybody kind of understands the what is the podcast. What are we going to be talking about? Like, why is it important, and how often are they getting it? Let's start with why.
So my vision, and I remember writing it on the wall way back, I don't know, a year and a half ago. My vision is that there's a family somewhere that's really lonely right now. I remember this journey being the loneliest. Even if you have friends and family around you, you are kind of all on your own when your child's diagnosed with cancer. And so just we're going to tell a lot of personal stories and give a lot of helpful information. And just somebody that maybe doesn't have community, maybe you can't sleep at night because you're up and you're worried, and you can just kind of click on this and listen for 25 minutes, and it might give you just some encouragement. It might make you feel less alone. You might hear a personal story and say, oh my gosh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
That would have helped me so much back then.
Yeah. There's we've heard from so many families of how you feel like you're on an island, and we hear that as folks are leaving our retreat. They talk about how they don't want to leave because they don't have that same community that you get and experience on a retreat, and they're going back to an island, and we want to be an extension of a retreat through this podcast. So you may be on an island, but you're going to have voices that are there to speak with you, and that you can listen to and encourage you and just be a part of your journey. When I think about the podcast, I think about not just the families that we get to serve. We get to serve several hundred families a year and stay connected with them, but there are so many other families that can't get on a retreat.
Exactly.
And that are in a state, a city, or a country where there's not resources. We're in Atlanta. That's a city that is rich with resources for childhood cancer. There's a lot of great organizations in this area, but there's places in the United States and in other countries where there's not that. And so because a digital resource like this is so easily accessible, our hope is that it gets into the homes of families that don't have a community and don't have a resource, and this will be something that's going to help them, to encourage them.
And I think that's some of our topics, like obviously personal stories. I think there's so much strength and power in listening to just someone's story, just from the perspective of, now I'm not so alone. But we're also just reaching out, and we're going to have nurses, and we're going to have mental health experts and all these people, not to overwhelm, but just to make you see things maybe in a different way, or give you a few tips. We're going to have parenting. I mean, parenting's a big deal anyway, but it's also really, really hard when one of your children is in crisis. And so we're going to just kind of give you maybe a whole bunch of resources that you didn't have that you can just listen to.
Yeah.
It's easy.
That's right. How often are we?
Weekly.
Weekly.
Yes.
Every week.
Every week.
That's right. We're going to be in your ear every week. So get used to these voices.
Exactly.
The reality is if you can get past Christy and I, there's some really
good
great
guests. Yes, we should probably mention that. We do.
Because it's really not about either one of us. It's really about the folks that we get to sit with. And that's who you're, I think, going to learn a ton from, is some of those folks, like you mentioned, the nurses and other families that are telling their story. So we're just super excited. We have really, really, really been looking forward to this day and launching this and getting this out so that families can really start listening and taking advantage of all the different things and people that we've been connected to. That's the benefit of Lighthouse. We've been around for over 20 years. We have learned a lot in 20 years. We have connected with a lot of families and folks over the 20 years. And so we want to be really good stewards of the information and the connections that we have. And we want to turn that over to you guys through this podcast. And so we're super excited to be able to do that. So, Christy, can you think of anything else?
So if you have any questions about Lighthouse, if you're interested in learning more about retreats or checking out all the resources we've talked about today, you can go to our website at lighthousefamilyretreat.org, and you can follow us on social media, Facebook and Instagram, at LighthouseFR.
Awesome. All right, so let me tell you a little bit real quick about our next episode. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. You're going to learn a little more about Christy. Well, we're going to dive into her story on the next episode. Because it's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, one of the biggest pieces of this month is awareness. And so we want to bring awareness to what it means to go through childhood cancer as a family and hear about it from a mom's perspective. And so we're going to talk with Christy and learn more about her family's experience. How did Carter get through it? What were some of the challenges in parenting through that? And as well as with his siblings, with Bo and Max, and how all that worked, and just to open some eyes maybe to folks that may not know what a family experiences in their childhood cancer journey. So that's going to be on our next episode. We're really excited to sit down and share that with you. And thank you for listening and help us kick off this podcast, especially during September and Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. We're really looking forward to the next one. Christy, I'm excited to sit with you and for you to share your story. You tell it so well. So folks, we'll see you later on the next episode.